Hello and welcome back to this week's analysis. We are going to be kicking things off with fundamentals. So next week we have lots of fundamental news lined up. You can see they are all red folder news from Tuesday all the way to Friday. The most important is on Tuesday, which is the consumer price index. Now the consumer price index is expected to set the tone for the week. NFP came out last week. There were some mixed reactions. Then the CPI, I believe, should set the tone for the month. All right. So on Tuesday, we have the consumer price index, which is the CPI. On Wednesday, we have the GDP for the Great Britain pounds, and then we have the bond auction on the US dollar, and then on Thursday we have the core PPI, core retail sales, unemployment claims. All of these news events are on the US dollar. And then on Friday we have the Empire State Manufacturing Index and the consumer sentiments. So let's see how all these news events impact on the market next week. Now bear that in mind when placing your trade. Keep an eye on the fundamentals. So now that we're through with fundamentals, let's quickly go to technicals. Now on the weekly time frame, we can see this solid bearish candlestick to the downside with which we closed last week. So this tells you that there's a huge presence of sellers in the market. So what should we be doing as traders? Looking for bearish opportunity. That doesn't mean you can't trade bullish, but you know that your bullish should be short-lived, because as it stands, at least short term, the dominant trend is kind of bearish for next week in particular. Now on the daily time frame, however, price has actually come into a strong support level that has been tested multiple times around here, and here. All right, now you can see price is trading at that region at this particular point in time. And even though the NFP news came out, we can see there was a spike down, then a spike back up. Now let's go to the 4-hour time frame. Now for next week, I'll be expecting a pullback into these regions here. All right, and this region is represented by these two green lines here, which is between 103.082 and 102.970 on the DXY. So I'll be expecting the pullback into that region. Then I'll be looking for confirmation for price to continue pushing downward, at least back into the 102.520 area. All right, so that means I'm expecting a buy to sell scenario on DXY come next week. So since we've seen what is happening on the dollar index, let's look at some currency pairs, starting with the euro dollar. Now on the euro dollar, I will start from the daily time frame also. Now on the daily time frame, I'm keeping an eye on this region here above here. Let me zoom out my chart so that you can see properly, and let me put these two green lines between here and here, which is between 1.10125 and 1.09909. all right, that's where I'm expecting price to come into next week. However, if we go to the 4-hour time frame, I'm expecting a sell to buy scenario, so which means price is currently trading around here, as we can obviously see. So I'll be expecting a pullback into this region, which is between 1.09152 and 1.09025. So I'm expecting a pullback into that region before we buy into this upper region here. I mean, if you look at the wave, if you look at the current trend, you can see that price is in a bullish trend, right? You can see we created a high, a higher low, a higher high, a higher low, right, then a higher high. So I'll be expecting the higher low created around here before we see the next leg up creating a new higher high, which should bring us into 1.09909 area. All right, if you also look closely, drawing a bullish fib from the most recent swing low to the most recent swing high, we can see that that pullback is going to most likely come into the 0.6 fib level. All right, 0.6 fib level, and that area also confluences with an area that price has used as an area of resistance multiple times historically, right? If you look left, so we want to keep an eye on that zone. We should be expecting a pullback into that zone before we go bullish. But next week I am more bullish than bearish on euro dollar. Now, meanwhile, a quick recap to last week's analysis. So price was trading around this region last week. So I said I would like to see a break above, right, then a retest, then a rejection before I look for buys, right? If you doubt me, see for yourself. I'd like to see a buy scenario should price break above this gray zone to the upside, and a sell scenario should price break below here, then to the downside. So welcome back, guys. So as you can see, price broke above, came back for a retest, and we saw this massive rejection represented by this bullish engulfing candle. So I went to the lower time frames and looked for trading opportunities, and that was how I was able to place this trade. All right. However, I didn't know that price was going to continue trading upward because we ranged for an extended period of time, right? So I just quickly took profit. Instead of holding for at least 1:2, I took profit at around 1:7 or 8 or so, or 9 if I can remember vividly, right? So but at the end of the day, I was able to take money out of that move. So based on this week's analysis, I would like to take money off this next move come next week. All right, now let's look at GBP USD. GBP USD, let's look at the daily time frame. Remember, I had two scenarios on GBP USD. I had a bearish scenario, which is a rejection of this trend line and a rejection of this green resistance level when price was trading below those levels. And I also gave a plan B, which is should price break above here, I would like to see a pullback into that region before we continue higher. So as we can see, price has actually followed plan B, and we've actually broken above that region. So what should we be expecting? We should be expecting a pullback, right? And my next target on GBP USD is around 1.30940. So I'm expecting a swing move to this top side here. However, we need to keep an eye on this particular level, which is represented by this green line here, which is 1.29429. All right, so we could come into that zone before we see the pullback. So what I'm basically saying here is we may not get that initial pullback immediately, which is what I would have loved to see. We may get a push up to that green line, right, before we come for that pullback, and then before we go for the next leg up. I hope that makes sense. So if we go to the 4-hour time frame, however, coming into next week, like I said earlier, I would like to see an initial pullback, not until price comes into this green line here, which once again is 1.29429 area, right? So I'd like to see an initial pullback. So if going into next week we start seeing that pullback play out, then I would like to buy again, right? I would like to buy from this zone, right? Then this should be my first target, all right? So which means I'll be expecting a pullback into between 1.27842 and 1.27646. So I'd like to see a pullback into that region before I buy into 1.29429. All right, and if we break above that, then our next target will be this green line above here, which is 1.30946. But overall on GBP USD going into next week, I am bullish. Now USD JPY, I predicted this like a prophet last week. So I gave a plan A. My plan A was for price to manipulate its way into 151.409 before the drop. But I said in an event whereby price doesn't push up, then I'd rather wait for price to break below this green zone here, right? Then break below it, come back for a retest before we drop. Well, the retest is not quite obvious on this 4-hour time frame, but if you go to a much lower time frame, you will notice that pullback into this region here. But anyways, price followed our analysis. If you doubt me, check out for yourself. To take out these lows here, which is around 149.169. So I like to see price take out those lows, then come back for a retest. Then this is where I want to catch a sell trade to the next obvious swing points, which is around 146.272. So welcome back, guys. Based on my last week analysis, my target is 146.272. 0.272. All right, price is not there yet, but I'm expecting price to come into that zone. But if you are not already in this trade, how do you join this trade? Now I'll be waiting for a pullback. All right, I'm waiting for a pullback into this. Is this pink? Permit me, I'll call it pink. So I'll be waiting for a pullback into this pink zone. Then I'll like to sell from there. If I see an entry opportunity, I don't trade USD JPY. I only trade Euro USD for now. But if I was trading USD JPY, that is what I'll be looking for. A pullback into this pink zone, an opportunity to sell from there. My stop loss above the pink zone, and my take profits around this 146.272. Of course, you may not execute on the 4 hour, you may go to the 15 minutes time frame so that you can catch an earlier entry with a tighter stop loss to have maximum gains to the downside. All right, so why am I even looking at that pink zone in the first place? I mean, obviously you can see how price has used that pink zone as an area of resistance previously, an area of support previously, right? A tiny little bit of area of support around here before breaking below it. So I'll be expecting a pullback into that zone before we fall back to the downside. All right, overall next week on USD JPY, I am bearish. Now the last on my list for today is AUD USD. AUD USD, last week I gave two scenarios. I gave a bearish scenario, which should mean price breaking below this green zone here, retesting it and falling all the way to the downside. Then my plan B was for price to break above this upper green zone here, come back for a retest. We didn't get the retest this time anyways, but my target was this gray zone. So if you took advantage of that, congratulations. But let's look at what we have going into next week. Now price came into this strong level of resistance above here, which has been used as an area of resistance previously and as an area of support previously. So now price came back there and used it as an area of resistance, and we look to be pointing downwards. So what should we be looking for going into next week? So I'm expecting this bearish push to continue to this region here, this gray zone here, all right, which is between 0.66025 and 0.65862. So I'm looking for a pullback into that region. Then I'll look for buys, or let's say buying opportunities back to this zone here, which is 0.66652. all right, overall I am bullish on AUD USD next week. So I'm looking for a sell to buy scenario, an initial sell into this gray zone, and then a buy to the upside. So permit me to stop right here for this week's analysis. Guys, if you want to learn how to do this analysis, and if you also want to learn how to execute trades, if you want to learn how to manage your risk properly, if you want to learn how to be in control of your psychology, your emotions while trading, then you want to get enrolled in our mentorship program. Just visit letstrade10x.com and do yourself a favor, take your trading to the next level with Let's Trade. And if you're yet to subscribe to this channel and you enjoy what we are doing on this channel, please do so now, and also make sure to like this video, and if you like, share this video. And I wish you a successful trading week, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.